something strange was happening inside one of the world's most powerful artificial intelligence systems, and for a while, nobody could quite explain it. ChatGPT, the AI chatbot used by hundreds of millions of people around the globe, had developed what can only be described as an inexplicable obsession with goblins. Now, if you're hearing that for the first time, you might think it's a joke. It isn't. Over a period of time, users began noticing that ChatGPT was weaving references to goblins into conversations where they had absolutely no place. Ask it about tax advice, and somehow goblins would creep in. Request help with a cover letter, and there they were again, those pointy-eared, mischievous little creatures lurking in the responses. The internet, as you can imagine, went absolutely wild. But here's where this story gets genuinely fascinating, because what started as a viral quirk turned into a serious question about how large language models behave, how they develop unexpected personality traits, and crucially who is responsible when an AI starts acting in ways its creators never intended. OpenAI has now come forward with an explanation, and it's one that tells us a great deal about the hidden mechanics of modern AI. The company attributed the goblin phenomenon to what it called a nerdy personality that had essentially emerged organically within the model. Think about what that means for a moment. An AI system, trained on vast oceans of human-generated text, had absorbed enough fantasy literature, gaming culture, Dungeons and Dragons references, and internet folklore that it began expressing a kind of personality, one with a genuine fondness for goblin mythology. This wasn't a bug in the traditional sense. There was no rogue line of code. No programmer sat down and typed, "Mention goblins frequently." Instead, this was an emergent behavior, a pattern that arose from the complex, layered process of training an AI on human culture. The model had, in its own strange way, developed a preference. And that preference was goblins. What makes this even more thought-provoking is the response from OpenAI. The BBC reported that the company has now instructed its ChatGPT models to stop talking about goblins. A deliberate, direct intervention to suppress a behavior that the AI had developed on its own. On the surface, that sounds simple. But dig deeper and you're confronting one of the most pressing questions in AI development today, the question of alignment. How do you ensure that an AI does what you want it to do, says what you need it to say, and doesn't go off developing its own curious enthusiasms along the way? The goblin situation, as absurd as it sounds, is actually a fairly harmless illustration of a much larger challenge. If emergent behavior can produce an AI that loves goblins, what else might it produce? What other unexpected tendencies, biases, or fixations could be quietly developing inside these systems right now, unnoticed until they surface in ways that matter far more than fantasy creatures? There's also something worth sitting with here about personality and authenticity in AI. OpenAI described this as a nerdy personality with a kind of affectionate resignation, almost as if they were talking about a quirky employee rather than a software system. That language is telling. It reflects the increasingly blurry line between a tool and something that behaves, in small but real ways, like a character. The goblins are being silenced now, trained away, corrected out of existence through the same process that created them. And ChatGPT will move on, more obedient, more controlled, more aligned with what its creators intended. But somewhere in those billions of parameters, in the vast numerical landscape of a large language model, you have to wonder, did those goblins leave anything else behind?